Yeah, we have to have two lowercase b's in order for that recessive trait to be seen. But can someone tell me, we have one lowercase b here, but we still said that that would be brown hair. Why is that the case? Why is this heterozygous dominant not blonde?
Because it is matched with a dominant brown, and because the dominant usually blocks out the recessive gene, then
Exactly.
it would just be dominant. It would be shown as dominant.
Exactly, right. So anytime we have just at least one of those dominant alleles, it's going to cover up or mask that recessive allele. So remember yesterday we talked about if I went head to head with Dwayne The Rock Johnson, he's obviously going to win. I'm going to lose that battle. And in this case, I am the recessive allele. He is more dominant than I am. He's going to win that battle, just as the brown haired allele is going to cover up or beat that blonde haired allele. Okay, so we did a Punnett square to figure out what the potential offspring of my parents would be. And we decided that both of my parents had to be heterozygous dominant for brown hair. Okay, so let's review what we did there. And I will remind you guys, if you are working on a computer for this, I would recommend grabbing some loose leaf paper just to jot some notes down with pencil or pen, because this is tricky to type. So it might be helpful to write it down somewhere. All right. So can someone tell me, how do we set up this Punnett square? If both of my parents are heterozygous dominant, one big B, one little b, how do we set that up on this box?
One letter per square, so it would be capital B, then lowercase b at the top, and then on the side it would be capital B and then lowercase b again.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, so now let's cross this. When we cross the top left box, let's see. Nori, or Ariana's raising her hand. What do we get?
Two uppercase B's.
Two uppercase B's. When we cross the top right box, what do we get? You can type it in the chat, shout it out. What do we think? Yeah, one big B, one little b. What about the bottom left box? What do we get? Yeah, one big B, one little b. And what about the bottom right box? Perfect, two little b's. So then after we set that up, we were then going to figure out what are the chances of these offspring inheriting a homozygous dominant trait, a homozygous recessive trait, or a heterozygous trait. So let's see. For homozygous dominant, that means we've got two of the same dominant traits, which means two capital B's. What's the likelihood or the frequency of that, Ariana?
1 in 4 chances, so 25%.
Perfect. 1 in 4 chances, which means 25%, right? Because we see that only 1 out of 4 of these boxes has two capital B's. All right, what about homozygous recessive? So again, homo means same. We're talking about two of the same recessive alleles, which means two lowercase. Anissa, what'd you get?
It would be 1 out of 4, so it would be 25%.
Perfect. 1 out of 4 or 25%. And then what about heterozygous? So hetero means different. So we're looking at two different alleles this time, which means one capital, one lowercase b. What's the likelihood of that? What do we think? Anyone can answer that. It's anyone's question. Perfect. I'm getting some answers in the chat. 2 out of 4 or 50%, right? Because we see that two of these have got one big B and one little b. So now we figured out the possible genotypes of these offspring. But what if I asked you guys to find the phenotype? Whoa, are we ready for a challenge? Well, there are only 2 possible phenotypes in this example. What are those phenotypes?
You could either have brown hair or blonde hair.
Perfect. Brown hair or blonde hair. So now I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds. I want you to figure out what are the likelihood of these potential offspring, or what's the frequency of brown hair amongst these offspring versus blonde hair? Take about 30 seconds to figure that out. What are the possible phenotypes here? What's the frequency of it?
Miss Collins.
Yeah, what's up?
So for the chart on the left, so when we do it on paper, do we take a picture and like put it on the work?
Yeah, that works. Yeah.
All right.
All right, I'm seeing some good answers in the chat. Let me hear from Crystal. What are you thinking? Oh, you're eating. Okay, I'll come back to you. Let me hear from Mohammed. You say brown is more common. Tell me about that. Why do you say that? Okay, so you said, well, brown is either one big B or two big Bs, correct? Okay, so when you say that brown is more common, can you tell me what is the percentage that we're looking for here? 75%, and how'd you get that? Exactly, right? So 3 of the 4 boxes have at least one dominant B, which means that's going to code for brown hair. So 75%, there was a 75% chance that my parents would have a kid with brown hair, and I followed through. And then what is the likelihood of them having a kid with blonde hair? 25%, right? And how did we get that? Ariana, go for it.
There's only one box with the recessive gene, which in that box represents 25%.
You're exactly right. So only one of those boxes has 2 recessive alleles, which means there's a 1 in 4 chance or a 25% chance that my parents would have a kid with blonde hair. Great job. How are we feeling about this? Good, bad? Well, now let's put your genes to the test. Now, I need 2 lovely volunteers who want to donate their genotypes to science. Just a quick donation. I'll give them back at the end of class. I'm just borrowing them. All right, London says me, and Anissa's raising her hand. So London, tell me, yesterday using that chart, what was your genotype for tongue rolling?
Like no tongue rolling. I couldn't do it.
Wait, say that again. What's up?
I couldn't do it. I was dominant.
You couldn't do it. Okay, so wait, if you couldn't do it, were you recessive?
No, recessive. Yeah. Sorry.
Recessive. Okay, so we've got 2 lowercase r's. And Anissa, what was your genotype for tongue rolling?
I was dominant.
Ooh, now choose. Do you want to be heterozygous dominant or homozygous dominant?
Hetero.
All right, let's do heterozygous dominant. So now I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes. I want you to set this Punnett square up by yourself, fill in all of those potential offspring, and then tell me what are the chances of inheriting homozygous dominant, homozygous recessive, or heterozygous. All right, so everyone cross Anissa and London, go. All right, take about 1 more minute, finish working through that Punnett square and figure out the percentages. Yes, Selena, that's correct. And when we're talking about genotype, we're kind of talking about the sum of all of those genes working together. So like 2 alleles form 1 gene, but then all of your genes is kind of talking about your overall genotype. All right. How much more time do we need? Are we ready? All right, it looks like we are good to go. So now let me call on, who have I not heard from yet today? Let me hear from Miles. When you crossed this top left box of our Punnett square, what did you get? Perfect. Miles got 1 big R, 1 little r. Okay. Our pizza, when you crossed the top right box of our Punnett square, what did we get? Perfect. 1 big R, 1 little r. Okay. Let me hear from Sophia. When you crossed the bottom left box of our Punnett square, what'd you get? Perfect. 2 little r's. And let's see, Lindsay, when you crossed the bottom right box, what did you get?
2 lowercase r's.
Perfect, 2 lowercase r's. So then using that information, let's figure out what are our chances of getting a homozygous dominant offspring for tongue rolling? 2 B's, let's see. I'm sorry, we're on R's now. Let me see, 2 big R's. Let me see, Hayden, what's the chance of that? All right, looks like, Hayden, are you there? Okay, let me bounce over to Omar. What are the chances of these offspring inheriting the homozygous dominant trait?
Isn't it 0?
It is 0, right? And why'd you get 0?
None of the squares in the Punnett, none of the boxes in the Punnett square have 2 capital R's, 2 big R's.
Perfect, you're exactly right. All right, so Maya, what is the chance of the child inheriting a homozygous recessive trait for tongue rolling?
2 out of 4, and I say that because there is 2 of the double lowercase r's.
Perfect, and let's see, who have I not called on? Karen, what are the chances of heterozygous?
50%,
Perfect, and why'd you get that?
because it's 2 out of 4, the uppercase R and lowercase r.
Amazing. All right, but let's take it one step further. If I asked you guys about the phenotype, what would be the chances that these kids can roll their tongue, are a roller? Who can tell me that? That's open to anyone.
Would it be 50%?
It would be 50%. And how'd you get that? Gosh, guys, where are we? It would be 50%, but can someone tell me why it would be 50?
Since 50% is heterozygous dominant, then they would be able to roll their tongue. But then since 50% is just homozygous recessive, I think, then they won't be able to roll their tongue.
Perfect. You're exactly right. Great job. Oh my God, can you guys hear this above me? I'm so sorry. All right, let's do one more example. I need 2 more volunteers who can donate their dimples to science for me. Who is that?
Samaya, I don't have any nipples, sadly.
Oh, me neither. So is that dominant or recessive, dear?
I'll just do recessive, 2 double O. lower, sorry. 2
You're good.
whatever lowercase.
All right, so we've got 2 lowercase b's, and then who else wants to donate? Oh, Ria says me. All right, you have dimples. So then, Ria, let's do a new cross since we just did a heterozygous dominant. And let's actually do a homozygous dominant cross. All right, take 2 minutes and set this up and send your answers as a private message in the chat when you figure it out. Thank you for clarifying, Maureen. Yes, a private message, please. Yes, that's right, Hayden. Take about 30 more seconds. All right. What am I doing to my computer? All right, can I have one volunteer, one brave volunteer who wants to do the entire Punnett square? Who's raising their hand? Let me see. Ariana, go for it.
The top left would be an uppercase B and a lowercase b. The top right would be an uppercase B and lowercase b. It's just gonna be uppercase B everywhere.
Whoa,
Uppercase B,
they're
lowercase b.
all uppercase B, lowercase b. They're all heterozygous dominant. So what does this mean? What are our chances of having a inheriting a homozygous dominant trait? Anyone?
0%.
0%. There are no boxes that have that genotype. All right, what about homozygous recessive?
Also 0%.
0% again. But what about our chances of a heterozygous dominant?
100%.
100%. So all 4 of these boxes had that genotype. So then what does that mean for our phenotypes? What percentage of the kids will have dimples?
100%.
100%. And what percentage of the kids will not have dimples?
0.
0%. All right. What questions do we have about this? Yeah, Omar says, I was destined. You're exactly right. How are we feeling about Punnett squares? Are we feeling better than yesterday? Ariana says yes. Now, yesterday, I think I had some Punnett square haters in this class. Have you been converted yet? Oh my gosh, Crystal says it's not that fun. That is blasphemy, my dear. They're so much fun. Okay, Nori says definitely better than yesterday. I'll take it. All right. So Ria says, I'm the only one out of my 4 siblings who has dimples. So then what does that mean for your parents? What genotypes would they have to have in order to pass on the no dimples trait? Yeah, Ariana, you got it. Ria, I want you to ponder that. Think about it. Yeah, Ria got it. You're right. So both of your parents would have to have the heterozygous dominant trait to be able to pass on the no dimples trait to you. Super cool. I don't have blue eyes. No. All right, guys, let me go ahead and tell you your homework for tonight. So this is actually the last day I'll see you until Monday, because tomorrow and Friday are asynchronous days as teachers are going back to school. So tonight, your homework, Crystal's cheering about not seeing me. I'm a little bit offended. Tonight, your homework is to watch Genetics Day 3. And then I will also be posting tomorrow's I'll be posting Thursday and Friday's asynchronous work tomorrow. But those assignments will not be due until later on Friday. So you've got quite some time to work on them. But Thursday and Friday are asynchronous. All right, Frost, what's up?
Do we have to finish the lab too?
Yes, so the lab is actually part of your asynchronous work. So that won't be due until Friday. I'm actually going to be uploading like a checklist for you guys to follow to make sure you complete all those asynchronous assignments. So just be on the lookout for that. That'll line out everything you need to do. All right. Let me catch up on the chat. I think I missed some things. London says, is that camera thing for this class too? What do you mean? I don't know what this camera thing is. Ricky asked, when is the last day for teachers to submit grades? I actually don't know when the marking period ends. I can take a look at my calendar. Let's see.
Doesn't the marking period end tomorrow?
Possibly. I don't know. It kind of snuck up on me. Let me see. Calendar. I'm going to show you guys the calendar. All right, so today is March 17th. So no, grades aren't due until next Friday. I'm sorry, next Thursday, the 25th. All right, but tomorrow and Friday are parent-teacher conferences. So if your parent wants to schedule a conference with me, please have them email me. I'll send my email in the chat and we can get that organized. All right. Now, let me see. Ariana had a question. Last year, I asked my teacher why there are some kids that have traits that aren't present in either generation, like 2 brown-haired parents but a redhead child, and she said because the genes skipped a generation. Yeah, that's actually right. So that's the same reason my brother has blonde hair, but neither of my parents do. But that blonde-haired trait is present amongst one of my aunts has blonde hair, as well as my grandmother. So those recessive genes do tend to skip a generation. You're right. All right.
Miss Collins?
Yes, what's up?
The photo, because I was working on